All right, good morning and happy Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in to our COVID-19 video series. I am Juliet Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber. If this is your first time tuning into our videos, please be sure again to like our page, that you're following this page if the information is relevant, which we know that they have been. Then make sure that you're sharing it to your network and let other folks know of the resources that are available to them. So the COVID-19 series developed as an educational video series that we had through the Chamber that touched on various things you can do for your business in wake of COVID. So basically how to go online and work remotely, how to conduct virtual meetings, e-commerce, and things of that nature. That's expanded a little bit to now feature our Mayor Herb Atchison, on a weekly basis. He's agreed to come on here and share updates from the city, updates of things that we should be aware of and things that we might want to know. It's also engulfed some things like state updates, where we had State Representative Tracy Kraft-Tharp and Senator Faith Winter last Friday. So every week we'll be changing things up. We actually posted this week's events page on our Facebook. So it touches on today being an update from our mayor, all the way to the closing on Friday with our Adams County Commissioners, Steve Odorizio and Mary Hodge. So thank you so much for tuning in. And without further ado, I know people are always anxious and eager to hear from our mayor. So I will turn this over to you, Mayor Atchison, to share with us some updates and get some questions rolling.
All right, thanks, Julia, and good morning, everyone. As you can imagine, there's still a lot of uncertainty around the kind of impact the COVID-19 pandemic is going to have on the Westminster business community. However, we are confident that our community can and will recover. Our economic development team is already looking ahead to economic recovery efforts and working with regional partners to develop and implement initiatives to help the Westminster businesses. There are a lot of great tools and resources being developed specifically in response to the COVID-19 crisis. The key is to act now and apply. Even if you don't think you'll use the funds, apply and get your business in there. Things are changing week to week, so it's good to be prepared. The U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA, has a variety of loan programs available for businesses. Now, what's important to many of you who have employees is that the Paycheck Protection Program just opened last Friday and will provide much needed relief to millions of small businesses so they can sustain their business and keep their workers employed. The Paycheck Protection Program is a loan designed to provide a direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on the payroll. The SBA will forgive loans if all employees are kept on the payroll for 8 weeks and the money is used for payroll, rent, mortgage interest, or utilities. And again, this program will be available through June the 30th, 2020. The SBA also provides the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program for small businesses and nonprofits without alternative credit available. There's also the Express Bridge Loan for small business that currently have a business relationship with the SBA Express Lender to access up to $25,000 with less paperwork. Now, all of these programs can be found at the SBA's website. Specifically, the one I want you to continue to look at is the Paycheck Protection Program, and that's sba.gov/PPP. So we want to make sure you go there. And if you haven't already applied for the Small Business Payroll Protection Program, it's our understanding that over $10 billion have already been created in loans through the banks to small businesses. So we want to make sure you get your opportunity. Additionally, there are a lot of grant and lending programs available for small businesses besides the federal programs. So be sure to check out the city's economic development website for a complete toolkit of business resources. Now that website is www.westminstereconomicdevelopment.org. Also tonight at the City Council meeting, which starts at 6:30, the City of Westminster is committed to our local community and our economic development and has earmarked $1.5 million to the Emergency Mitigation Small Business Assistance Program to satisfy monthly rental and mortgage payments. That action is scheduled to take place tonight, and if approved, then these loans would be available to you through our Economic Development Office. Again, the city is pledging $1.5 million for economic recovery for our small business. This program is being proposed to City Council this afternoon. We will have more information on our website about all the details once it receives the final vote from Council tonight. And we encourage businesses to go to the Economic Development website and sign up for our newsletter so they can receive these regular email updates regarding the recovery efforts. Also, our website also lists upcoming events such as live streams and webinars that allow businesses to ask questions and get the latest information on federal, state, and regional resources. Now, another piece of information that I know that may be helpful to many of your employees, especially if they're considering that they're having action brought against them for landlords, for tenants for not being able to make payments. It is my understanding through both Adams and Jefferson County that no court is processing eviction notices today. What they are taking in is the filing of an eviction notice by an attorney representing a landlord. That paperwork does not constitute an eviction notice. It's merely the start of the process. But since nobody is processing those cases right now, we want to make sure that people are aware that that is not an opportunity for someone to tell you you have to move out. But within Westminster, we have another resource called Colorado Legal Services. And we have two contacts for you there at Colorado Legal Services. It's Rennie Turjak and Aaron Binder. Rennie can be reached at telephone number 979-493-2891, extension 265. And Aaron Bindman can be reached at 720-294-6747. Now, if you are being threatened with eviction by a landlord, this is contact information. These services are typically free. They are paid for as part of a joint venture between Adams and Westminster. Even if you live on the Jeffco side, I encourage you to talk to them. They still will be helping anybody who lives in the city of Westminster. And Juliet, that's sort of our update for the morning.
That's quite a bit of things that you've just shared with us. And I know last week, whenever we touched on a couple of items with the essential business terms and then the live stream that we had done, you were kind enough to share some links and PDFs and things like that. And we were able to put those on our website for updates. We'll do the same after this video and be able to place the phone numbers that our mayor just referenced for you to contact Legal Shield and all the others. I think that's fantastic that now our city is looking at some sort of a fund that's there. Mayor Atchison, you mentioned tonight is our council meeting, and this is also virtual streamed as well, so people can participate or at least hear the recording of it. Is that right?
That's correct. We have one conflict with tonight. The governor has called a press conference for a statewide press conference for tonight at 6:30. So we're going to be competing with him. Now, as much as I'd like to have you come to ours for the business community and the community at large, I think it would be important for you to listen to, or at least tape the governor's speech, go back and listen to it. Currently, the stay-at-home order from the state expires on Saturday of this week, April 11th. A number of communities are already talking about extending that. And as we're all aware, the school districts have already made a determination not to return to the classroom this school year. So they will stay on virtual through the end of the school year, which goes into May. I am anticipating, based on a number of meetings and discussions that we've had with the state government, that being the governor's office, our congressional members as well, I would not be surprised to see the governor extend the stay-at-home order at least until May. But I don't know how far into May he may take it. But I expect that will be a part of the conversation he's having with the state tonight. Since it runs out on the 11th, and we still are being told by our health departments that we have not reached the peak, I anticipate there will be an extension beyond the 11th. I just don't know for sure how long that will be.
Thank you. So we do have a question. We have Councillor Demont that's actually tuned in and said he appreciates this live stream. Thank you, Councillor. We also have a question that came in that asks, does the city have a sense yet of how this pandemic will impact the timeline on Westminster's downtown development?
Right now, we haven't had any impact that we've been notified. Everything that was under construction is still under construction. That is one of the essential services that has been determined by the state that it's important to keep the economy going as much as possible. That doesn't mean that we won't see some impact We know that because such things as the theater is not open and running. But we won't see the financials of that impact until later this month, when we see the results of sales tax revenues come in for March. But keep in mind, that's only going to be for about a 2-week period in March. So the first part of the month is still going to be skewed to normal operations. But things like the Alamo Draft House is closed right now. The Olive Garden restaurant there at the downtown has continued to serve people. They've done an excellent job. I've used them myself, picking up to-go orders. Just call in and place your order or online. Those are probably the only two. The rest of it is residential and the construction of the hotel. The other stuff with the Sherman properties on the center pieces are still moving forward. We are not being notified by any of our developers that are under construction that they're expecting a delay from what we were already told their plans were for either later this year or the early part of 21.
Well, that's great to hear. So we have Brian Dice, thank you to the mayor and council for everything you're doing to assist businesses. We have Katie Winter asking, so is local city aid for businesses also available? Okay, so I think this question stems off of the present CARES Act that came out, and a lot of the funding federally is actually only available to nonprofits that are 501 C3s and such. They're not available for unique organizations like Chamber of Commerce is. So the fund you just mentioned, Mayor Atchison, is the 1.5 that's being proposed to council this evening and goes toward, it's specifically earmarked towards select items like their rent. And is that right?
Yeah, that is my understanding. The details of it you can find on the city website right now. If you go to where the council agenda packet is, there's information in there, but more of that will become knowledgeable if you're listening to the call tonight. Also, the information will be available later today or tomorrow morning on the economic development website, so you can see the details of what businesses will be eligible and who they won't be. But it will be for certain funds, not for everything.
Correct. And to go back on the comment, because I almost forgot. So, I live in the new downtown and strong proponent of this place. Olive Garden has probably been, I think, the busiest that I've ever seen it. The cars there are lines of people getting takeout. So I'm glad you mentioned they're doing some great work right now. We also have Parker Brown that's sharing, thank you for the hard work and for keeping us informed on here as well. So we did share that there's a city website that's now present for COVID. We have an email address for any inquiries from folks that want to contact related to COVID. One of the comments that came from the meetings that council held most recently, which I thought was intriguing, and I'd like for you to kind of talk a little bit about this, Mayor Atchison, was if you get stopped. So I think there was a question of if you're pulled over, if they're actually enforcing that. And this came to fruition because there are some people that are getting pulled over in the metro area. Is that right? And it's not related to RPD.
No, let me correct the rumor mill. There is no law enforcement agency in the entire metro area that is running any kind of a COVID checkpoint. We have had incidents primarily on the northern end of the state, and I believe it's somewhere like 4 to 6 incidents of non-law enforcement individuals who have decked out their private vehicles and have been pulling people over for these COVID-19 checks. These are not law enforcement. They are people who are breaking the law by impersonating a law enforcement agency. That does not mean that you will not find the traffic enforcement is still the same. If you break the law by speeding, doing things like that, and you get pulled over, you're getting pulled over for the traffic offense, not to have a check on whether or not you're in or out of the house and shouldn't be. No one is doing that. We don't have the depth of resources to be doing checkpoints, as it was called earlier. So be careful. If someone pulls you over and you are absolutely certain that you are not doing anything wrong, immediately call 911 and ask the operator to verify that you're being pulled over by an authorized law enforcement agent. They will contact that agent that's out. They will verify that it's truly a law enforcement agent. Once that is verified and you truly have a law enforcement person stopping you, then what you got stopped for is between you and the law.
Right. Yes, that's a very good point and very valid. There's a lot of concern right now, and I think we're seeing this with even Zoom, right? So don't accept links that you don't know and trust. There's a lot of clickbait that's going on, and some folks that have complained about calls and various scamming related to whether it's the stimulus checks or it's these specific orders. So I think, as you shared, Mayor Atchison, it's really crucial for you to, if you're not feeling like something's right and you haven't done anything in the wrong, to check before you actually give in to those requests. So,
and if you get pulled over and you feel uncomfortable, continue to drive very slowly to an area that is well lit and is viewable in the public, but at the same time, make that 911 call.
We also have a thank you again from Ari. It looks like she tuned in. She's thanking us as Westminster leaders for the guidance, help, and support during this time. I think that's great for us to recognize. And it looks like Councilor Smith's also on here sharing. Thanks for sharing the residents and businesses in our community these resources. So really the main takeaway today that we had, you touched a lot on the paycheck protection plan. You touched a little bit about the resources that are available with if you're having trouble, if you're struggling from rent, eviction, the concern that might be there that you're going to get kicked out, and some of the legal services that are available through our Adams County. Was there anything else that we think we need to have them be aware of? So before next week, I feel like things end up piling up before the next time we get together.
Well, we'll probably have calls in between now and then just for some small updates, but I would tell people to do the same thing that we're asking you to do. If you don't need to be out, stay at home, be safe. If you do go out, we have seen a change from the CDC that asking people to have homemade masks of some sort, use those as you go out. Don't use the the N95 masks, which are meant for first responders, healthcare. Don't go out and buy those up so you can go outside. The CDC says use the homemade masks. Those are fine for what you're trying to do. But the really important professional masks we need to keep for our first responders and our healthcare groups. Now, I talked to part of the hospital groups just this morning. We still have beds that are not filled. I know there was a rumor running around that all the beds were used up. As of the last hour, that is not true. We still have bed space in Westminster. We'd like not to have to use them. So we'd like to keep them empty, but the big thing is protect yourselves. We have seen a downturn in the panic buying that we saw in the grocery stores, other thing that's starting to subside. As the governor has asked, if you don't need to go to the grocery store every week and you go every 2 weeks, try to go every 2 weeks. Our restaurants, people like Parker Brown, who was on earlier, those restaurants are still providing meal services, either takeout that you can pick up at the restaurant, or they have a delivery service. So if you're able to support our local restaurants and our local businesses that are still deemed to be essential, please do that. We're trying to keep as many people employed as we can so that when the time comes that we can start to come back to a normalcy, regardless of when that may be. I think one important thing that you need to keep in mind, when the stay-at-home order is lifted, it is going to be a gradual lift. This is not going to be open the doors, let everything restart, go back just like it was before this ever started. We still have to be aware that there are people out there for some period of time that may start to show symptoms and become infected even later. Hong Kong has made the mistake of opening everything back out. Now they're having to look at reclosing. We don't want to see that happen. So I think it'll be important to stay tuned. Stay tuned with the city website. A lot of information is there. The COVID-19 at cityofwestminster.us is there. We have not seen a lot of activity on that. So people that have questions are either getting it answered through the website, which is still the best place to go.
We've got a couple more comments. Brian Head thanks you for your updates. We also have Greg, and he's asking, have we been in contact with small business owners? How are they facing, and what assistance or guidance is there from the city? So
right now, our economic development office is trying to do individual reach outs as much as they can, because keep in mind, they're not at the city hall. So they're trying to work from home and keep information flowing. The best thing I can tell you is that we are trying to find a way to make sure that businesses are able to recover and come back. We want to see our employment base go back. I will tell you that it is going to be a challenge. Depending on how long we stay down, we know that the state budget is going to take a tremendous hit because our state runs on sales tax. And when people aren't able to get out and sales don't happen, those are going to be impacts. We do not know at this point how soon we will be able to tell how big it is. We have seen one projection out of one county that's here in the metro area that they believe that the state's general fund budget could go down by at least 30% with no projected income above that 30% level. Those numbers are very speculative. We do not know what that's going to be because we won't have another readout until later this month on where the economic forecast is at. We're doing everything we can. I know the chamber is reaching out to the small business members that they have. We're trying to do it through our economic development office. But if you have any questions, that anything that's related because of the COVID-19, I encourage you to go to COVID-19 at cityofwestminster.us, drop your question in, and then those are being dispersed to the departments that need to answer those, so you're getting firsthand information.
Absolutely. And I'll just piggyback on your comment, Mayor Atchison. You know, the city's economic development department is working pretty robustly to try and address this as much as possible. And we've been working more closely within the last week and a half. So Greg, our chamber started conducting outreach calls, and we're working in conjunction now with the city on those. But the efforts were across the city to connect with all businesses to see how they're doing, what are their pain points. Really, as Mayor Atchison was sharing, their sales are down, so they're hurting for funding. And that's why we touched a lot on that SBA package and opportunities that are there. And then the workforce component, that's a huge one. It's always been a problem just because historically we've had those unemployment low rates, but now it's an entirely different one because these people are furloughed and they're let go. And that's why we addressed that a little bit with the virtual job fairs. We'll be doing those into the summer months. So if anyone is interested in job opportunities, we'll be featuring a few of those employers. But I think what Mayor Atchison and a lot of what the city is doing, and I hope you don't mind me speaking on this, you know, this is constantly changing on a daily basis. And so to be as adaptive as possible and to try and address our business community's needs is ongoing. It looks like we also have Tracy Kraft-Tharp, our state representative, thanking us, Mayor Atchison and the chamber for hosting this. But I think I've updated this as much as possible. I know we might have questions along the way. And if we get additional questions, I'll be sure to forward those so that you can address it, whether it's the next time around or in the comments or by email to folks. But I do want to thank you, Mayor Atchison, for taking the time on a Monday to hop on this call with me and share updates that you've had and answer these questions as they've come up. I'm always pleased to hear the quick response and delivery that you have for everything. So,
well, thank you, Juliet, and just everyone stay safe, and we'll get through this.
Absolutely. You have a wonderful week. Thank you so much.
All right,